you gotta experiment. You remember back in the digital transformation days, Brandon, you were supposed to fail fast or move fast and break things. Like we had the encouragement for all of the Fortune Global 2,500, 2,500 people. We were like, what you got to do is you need to start getting good at software by trying things out. Just get better and better at software. Small batch loop, lean startup, whatever you want to call it. And so I applied that to my own life recently. I was like, okay, here I am, fancy lad, gentleman that I am. I got lifetime platinum with Marriott, so I got that sorted. And I don't really know, because I had that one passing year. I don't know if I'm ever going to get lifetime platinum with KLM, because as a reminder for our non-traveling, non-Netherlands members, you can get lifetime platinum on KLM. However, you have to have 10 consecutive years. And I emphasize that consecutive is really, that's the fine print of the situation right there. So
right.
if it weren't for 1 year, what I didn't realize, I could use my, as they call them, not to be confused with Dungeons and Dragons, your XP points. If you could buy XP points with miles. If I hadn't have missed that, I think I would only need 2 more years and I would be lifetime platinum. And Brandon, you can sympathize. If you had lifetime status on a hotel chain and an airline chain, I feel like we're talking about a 4 to 6% just happiness improvement for the rest of your life. In the sense that you would always be like, well, I've always got that, right? Like I don't need to work towards this. I can date other hotel chains. I might even fly in another airplane. I don't have to worry about re-earning my status every year. I've always got it available to me. Like it's just, and it's also sort of an achievement.
We should do like let's do a little test here. What is worth to you? I'm gonna throw out some numbers. If I said to you like, pay me $1,000 and I'll take back that year, I'll put you back on it, would you give it to me?
I would have given you like 5,000.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like $1,000 easy. 5,000 probably would do it too. I think you'd probably do it.
I think about
like,
just trying to contact KLM every now and then and just be like, hey, come on, let's work something out here, right? Like just this 1 year.
Have you called and asked? I mean, maybe I guess, what you got to do is you got to get to like where you're on the 9th year, maybe. Like, because okay, so maybe let's put a little reminder in your calendar. You're 2 years out, you think, or you're 2 years out from the fake 10 years. Right?
That's right. Oh, fake! So, come on, Brandon. I thought we were friends. It's not fake.
Yeah,
it's earned.
Fake. You're 2 years out from the 10 years. So I think in the 9th year you call up and you say, and I don't even know if this is true, but you say something like, it was a difficult year in there, because you got to think COVID messed up this for a lot of people. Like there was just a period when no one could travel. Right?
Okay. I don't want to break your stride, but they did the same thing everyone else does. They just automatically gave you the previous years. So technically, I kind of cheated there a little bit. Right?
Okay.
So I'm doing good. But we don't need to tell anyone about that.
Well, maybe you just need to call them and just be like, hey, listen, I made it. I'm on the verge of 10 consecutive years with this one blip. Is there any way you can look upon me and give it to me? Because I think if you just ask, because there's always a way. And maybe they just give you like another little challenge. They'll be like, well, I'll tell you what, you got to do it for 2 more years, and we'll give it to you. Something like that.
Yeah, I like it. I do. I should try it, because like this is the thing. Like I don't like to be confrontational with things like that. But what people keep telling me over the years is like, well, the worst they can do is tell you no, and I'm like, I feel like there's so many more worse things that could happen. Yeah,
I feel, a brief tangent to this tangent. Like, I actually feel like this is a very much a learned skill. I'm my son is a high schooler now, right? And he's doing well. He's figuring his way out. But like, so many of the things that I think he could fix, I've gotten to a point. It's kind of a running joke. I tell him it's like, you just have to talk to people.
Oh,
like you just have to. Like the secret here, I mean, again, sometimes I feel like as a parent, like I always say, I'm not really revealing secrets. I'm just giving you the, especially in high school. Like this is kind of my speech about high school. It's like, no one in high school is trying to trick you. The teacher will give you all the answers. They will give you, this isn't like a graduate school where they're like, we have to we need you to apply some deep thinking to solve new problems that have never been discovered before. It's like, no, in high school, like the teacher will have given you all the answers for the test. Like they want, and in fact, they're like so happy to give you the answers. Like they'll do anything for you to remember it. Right.
This is a good point. I think another way
to do it.
Another way of putting it is the teacher wants you to succeed so bad that when you fail to study, they get angry.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And so they're just like, so anyway, so I think he's well past that part. I think a lot of high school kids figured that out. Hopefully they figured it out. Not all. I mean, everyone's different things. But then there's this other thing just around like wanting something, or I would like something to happen, just whatever. It could be anything, or being like, I'm not sure about something. And it's just like, the answer is to just go speak to the person, right? I think we should. But I think this is it. I think there's something about the teenage years, and maybe it's high school, or just something about because it's like social pressures. I don't know, societal norms. Because little kids in elementary school do not have this problem. They will tell the teacher anything, and they will ask the teacher anything, almost to the point you have to rein them in. Be like, let's not ask about that subject. That's a little, we need to kind of rein you in. But high school, in this this area where it's like no, just ask, just go formulate a question, and it'll probably happen for you. And I think, but to your point where you're going to back to your thing, it's like before, it's like, yeah, even now, I guess it does require some mental energy, but I just find that's most of the time, that's the answer. It's like, just go talk to them and ask, it'll be okay. But it's hard to learn.
I like this, Brandon. I feel like maybe we could start maybe like a mini series podcast just called around around the topic of, we'll call it Just Ask. And I don't know what's going to happen, but the goal, the business outcome of the Just Ask podcast is going to be, do whatever psychological, manipulative therapy Cote needs so that he can just ask.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think you're alone. I think there's a lot of people out there. And I think, again, the sooner people learn about this in life, where they just I'm just going to ask people, and again, it's I'm going to get past I'm annoying, or people don't answer my questions, or people mean I don't know. I'm just going to make up some stat, the Brandon DORA report, and it has nothing to do with anything. People that ask people that ask other people questions are 98% more likely to succeed in their chosen profession.
Okay, well, we're crazy
like that.
We're derailing from my opening bit here, but I want to clarify one thing you just said. Is it's not that we who do not ask, so to speak. It's not that we don't ask questions, right? Because I'm a big proponent of if you don't know something, you should ask and be like, what does that mean, right? Which I think gets you that's a whole other topic, but that gets you very far in life, especially as you get more and more expert and professional. I think it's a sign of operating well if you have someone who's always asking questions about stuff they don't know, more or less, right? You gotta figure out if you're gonna get shit on if you pretend you don't know something, in which case just slowly back out of the room. But anyhow, it's more when you're asking for something. You're asking someone to do something for you, and that's where the problem is. But yes, absolutely. I think my life would be. I mean, I have a handful of things that I just have not done for 2 to maybe even 4 years, just because I don't want to talk to someone on the phone and just ask them things. And it's just and I know from my own experience that I had to get a prescription refill because I went over the story because I switched doctors, and eventually I just talked to someone and it was done in 5 minutes.
That's right. Maybe that's the takeaway is in the end, you're not, while possible, you're being a burden. In most cases, you're not being a burden by asking for something. And if you are, and if you do it too much, you will probably get feedback letting you know that that's happening. So until you receive such feedback, just ask.
Well, Kim came up with a phrase for this. She says that one of my life principles, which I think is incredibly accurate, is be helpful, not helpless. And I think that's the situation that I need to remedy. I need to be helpful and ask for help. Is what you want to do. Well, I'll mention this briefly since I think we had a much better topic there. I ran the experiment. I took the Eurostar, or the Channel, as people say, a couple times ago. Took the train from Amsterdam to London for a trip that I was on, and I do not recommend it.
Okay, wow.
Because now I talk with our. I don't know if I don't think he listens, but he definitely is a friend of the software defined talk. Universe and extended universe. Our talk with our friend James Governor about this over a nice lunch at a great place. Maybe I'll save it for a recommendation. And I posed this to him. I was like, listen, you're a left-leaning, wise man about town, the cosmopolitan. Help me sort through this. I thought it would be a good idea to take the Eurostar, the train from Amsterdam to London. It seems like that's what one does. But I was there, and because of Brexit, you got to sit in this tiny little stuffed area with passport stuff, and then you get on the train, and the train takes like 4 hours, and then you get to I think I can pronounce this correctly now, St. Pancras. It's not St. Pancreas, as I said for over a decade, but you get to St. Pancras, and then you face the London problem, which, nice problem to have. But what people don't realize about London is just to go one block takes 30 minutes. So like anywhere you want to go in London, it's going to take you 30 minutes from where you are, which is kind of insane when you think about it. So then you got to do that. So you're looking at basically like at best 5 hours door to door travel, right? Whereas if I take the Schiphol, the Amsterdam to London City Airport, and listeners, if you don't know about London City Airport, if you're ever doing travel within Europe to the United Kingdom, don't go to Heathrow. In general, only go to Heathrow if you have to. Don't go to Heathrow. But you go to London City Airport, you're talking like that's a 45-minute flight. That's basically like the Austin to Dallas flight.
Right.
And as another friend of mine, another English friend, Mark Cathcart, used to say, it's just enough time to have 2 beers, which he's English, of course.
Of course. Would think nothing less.
And so that flight, 45 minutes. And of course, you need to have, I like to get to the airport 90 minutes on time, but you get to London City. And then to my point, it takes you 30 minutes to get somewhere. But it's just such a more pleasant experience to take the Amsterdam to London City thing. And I put this in front of James, and he had another sip of the fantastic wine we had. I'd ordered this bottle of wine. I said, I really want a wine that tastes like a Greek man who hasn't showered in 3 weeks. And they nailed it.
They gave it to you perfectly.
It was great. So he had a sip of that wine, and he was like, Cote, you are unfortunately spoiled with one of the best airline routes in the world, which is the Amsterdam to London City, or city as the kids say, airport. So you should just do that. So that's my advice. Maybe if you're in Lille, France, and you can just kind of reduce the amount of time. But if you're coming from Amsterdam going to London, don't ride the Eurostar unless you're want that time.
Interesting. All right, well, that's kind of quite the upset. I think usually the Americans are very excited about the European trains, but this sounds like the other way.
Exactly. It could be novel. It could be interesting, right? Like I was in Athens recently, right? And if I were to say, hey, Brandon, would you like to, when it is, let's say, a mild Texas day, go climb Enchanted Rock? You would say, no, I would not like that. But if I said, hey, what if it was a mild Texas day and you could go see the Parthenon? Right.
Sure.
And you'd be like, yes. So it's all context, right?
True.
It might be
Very
novel
true.
and fun to be there. And otherwise you're like, I don't need to have a giant rock vibrating under me as I'm about to die from heat and, stairs.
Well, before we move on, Coach, I just want to throw in, I mean, you touched on something there. I think at some point, when we'll call it your holiday newsletter, when maybe the topics are a little bit less tech heavy. It's like, here's what an American should actually see in Europe. You've been there long enough, right?
That would be good.
And kind of like the Parthenon thing you just said there. It's like, well, there's all these sites that sort of give you if you will, it's the idealized version of a tourist thing, and then someone shows you what it's really like there, and it's crowds everywhere. The Mona Lisa, I guess, is pretty famous. It's
that's a good one.
The picture is sort of beautiful when you look at it, and it's just a picture, and then someone turns around and it's this tiny little picture, and there's in the Louvre, and there's 500 people all waiting to take a selfie, and it's maybe we could skip that one, Yeah. So I think you would have a good little here's the things you should either do or see in Europe that are worth your time.
Yeah, I could be Cote through the back door
of
Europe. That's what I need to plan on. Well, speaking of going through the back door, which is in no way a pertinent transition, I think both you and we read the recent DORA report, the DORA AI report. Now, I wanted to run this by you because, as even short-term listeners know, you're the more details-oriented person of the three of us. I think Matt Ray, pretty detail-oriented. But me, let me put that in another phrase. As short-term listeners know, I am not details-oriented.
All right, we can stipulate that.
So I was a bit confused. Is this DORA report the DORA report or an additional DORA report about AI?
I took it as like the DORA report, but like I guess they could release another one. Although these things are quite lengthy. I mean, this thing clocked in at over 140 pages from top to bottom. So if they're doing yet another DORA report, just like on the state of DevOps or something, it's like, wow, I don't know. That's a lot of work. That's just a lot of just reading. Forget about writing it. Just trying to read the whole thing is a lot.
That's true.
So I think we take this as 2025's DORA report. And if they create another one, you know what we'll do? We'll review that one too.
Right. So both you and I read the PDF, whatever it is, whichever official report.
I'm going to admit, I didn't read this thing end to end. I'm just going to admit that to the audience. It's very long, very long.
I think we gave it a Tyler Cowen read, which he's renowned for reading 5 books a day. But if you listen to him when he tells you how he reads stuff, one of the key things he says is he says 2 things why he can read so much. He says, 1, I've already read a lot. So like I'm good at reading. And then 2, he says, also because I've read a lot, he doesn't say it exactly this clearly, but if you've heard him explain this 3 or 4 times, you understand what he's saying is, I don't need to read every page because I already know that. And so like you're just kind of like, you're like, yep, got that. And you don't have to read every single word, which I think is a great way to go through life. You don't have to.
Well, as we kind of get into it, before we get into some of the charts and stuff, so you have a lot written here. I just had like a meta comment about this thing. I feel like this report, like the thing that struck me is like, I feel like it's too complicated. That was my initial thing. It's just like, we've gotten too complicated. But then I actually was looking at this, like, I actually feel this is like almost like a business self-help book, because like there's a lot of data in here, but then there's like recommendations. And then there's like this thing about like there's 7 archetypes of teams, right? Which kind of this reminded me a little bit of like getting things done or atomic habits or something along the lines of like, here's a bunch of information that we gathered. Here's some way to like rate yourself. And then inside of it, either explicitly or implicitly, like, here's what you could be doing better, right? Here's ways to be doing better. And I guess in itself is not like, I don't think it's bad, but I just feel like maybe this thing is like, it's much more than a report, I guess is what I kind of took away from it. And then my final thought was like, it did kind of leave me because I say this and then I'll probably read another one, but like kind of to Tyler Cowen's, like if a new kind of productivity book comes out, I will generally try to hear the author on a podcast. And then only if they've said something I think is like incredible in there, will I actually go listen to the audiobook. So it's like, I've read it because I've already read it. Because I do like, and the problem with those things is like getting things done, atomic habits, pick a lot of them, other ones. Like I just find that I don't do the stuff. Like I'm just like, it's too much. Like I don't, I don't have a day full of like coming up with next actions and getting things done or applying. I don't know. Maybe that's my own personal limitation. So that's kind of how I feel with this report. It's like, it's interesting in here, but like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think certainly most executives or most businesses are going to be able to like go through and internalize and do a lot of this stuff. Now, like what is your take there? Is that too harsh a critique? Is that just stating the obvious? Like what do you think?
I think wow, there's so many things in there that I agree with, and I think the way I would phrase it is, and we'll get to probably not summarizing what's in the report, but like speaking of not having to catch up on things you already know, maybe we don't even need to summarize it. Our listeners know. They're like, DORA report, sure, I know what's in there. And I think the way I would summarize a lot of what you're saying is, who is this for, right? Like, what is the audience? Mm-hmm. And I think that your notion of it, I think it's for, I'm going to call them capital M management, otherwise known as executives. Like, I think pretty much everything in there is put in a way of, if you are in charge of the factory of your organization, how I think, how you're using software, how you're using AI services, how you're building IT to further whatever your goals are for your business. This report is targeted is too strong of a word that I guess both of us are kind of circling around. But this report should be for you, right? Because all it's describing is not all, but what it's primarily focusing on is how people behave, the practices that they follow, and a sort of, as with all the DORA reports, a mindset that you have about things. And those are things that if you are an IC, an individual contributor, a developer, an operations person, even a low to kind of mid-level manager, care is the wrong word, but your responsibility is not the entire system. Your responsibility is just your part of the system, right? But what the DORA reports are always going over is the entire system, everything that it takes to go, as we used to say in the glorious pivotal days, from idea to production, right? Everything that if you're writing software, whatever idea you might have, whatever feedback you have, figuring out the code to writing the code, figuring out how you'd run it into production, avoiding having to write a bunch of YAML files and Kubernetes nonsense, and then deploying it to production, and then observing the feedback that you have, the small batch loop, the lean startup, all that kind of stuff. And so really the way that most things are run in civilization are that there are very few people who are in charge of that complete end-to-end process, and those people are the executives, right?
Okay, so you think it's for the executives, and I guess I would go so far as to say, as an executive, or really just someone consuming this report, I actually think it just comes down to two charts in here, and I'm going to say the two charts I think that actually matter, that are easily understandable, is on page 20. So it's lead time for changes, distribution. So it's just basically how quickly can you go from making some change in your software and actually, if you will, how long does it take you to get it done? And so the thing I thought was interesting, it's sort of like between 1 week and 1 month, that's 28% of the people, and between 1 day and 1 week, it's 30%. So it's like, to me, it's sort of like, that's like your baseline. If you're an executive and you're like, okay, we come up with an idea and we want to get it implemented, like how quickly can we get it done? And if you're in the range of, obviously if you're less than 1 day, less than an hour, you're at whatever.
Cool.
You're at the hot, but I just think it's kind of irrelevant. I don't think most people are going to do that. Not even sure necessarily that should be a goal for lots of places, right? We can maybe debate that. So that's sort of like, to me, it's like, if you're in that realm, then okay, you're probably doing okay. Maybe not doing great, maybe we do better, but you're probably okay. And the other one was deployment frequency, defined as how often does your organization deploy code to production or release it to end users? So again, once per week, once per month, that's 30% of the people. Once per day, once per week, that's 21%. And then you get into the people that are doing it once per hour, and then you're getting into multiple deploys each day. So, I mean, all of those things, again, to me, I just kind of like the highlights are like, where are you at? Because this to me is the business outcome you care about. And if you
absolutely
if you can kind of rank yourself to be like, I'm in the broad bell curve there, I'm in the average or a little bit above average, I think you're probably doing pretty good. And I'd actually be pretty satisfied. And kind of back to our high school, I wouldn't be happy if my high schooler said that, but I'd be like, well, you're kind of well within the distribution. That's pretty good. And you probably have a lot of other things to worry about. And if you're really low, if it takes you we can only deploy once per 6 months, okay, you probably have a real problem. So that's my whole thing. It's like, I'm reading page 20 as an executive, I'm scoring myself. And if I'm really, really low performing, I'm going to really dive into the rest of the report. If not, I'm probably going to be like, well, pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think that is probably I mix all the DORA stuff up, but the time it takes you to get code changes into production and a user using them. I know there's lead time and cycle time and deployment frequency, whatever. The basic time that it takes to get updates out, right? And get someone using it. I mean, that probably is at the very beginning. Is this true? At the beginning of DevOps and all that stuff, that and Agile and extreme programming, that has always been the metric. That's always been the thing that you're obsessed with. And to kind of confusingly contradict what I was saying earlier, I think that if you are an IT executive, generally, that is the highest responsibility you have. which is to say, your responsibility is not so much to make the company money or to make sure their business is good, right? Like your responsibility is the business comes to you, or the organization, if you're not into profit, like a government, they come to you and they say, we need this. And your job is not so much to say what is needed, but is just to give that as quickly as possible with as much quality as possible. You're basically trying to max out the iron triangle of schedule, quality, and budget, right? And so the one that you probably should pay the most attention to is how quickly can we deliver the stuff that someone asked for, right? And so, for example, to circle around that point, one of the things that I'm realizing the DORA report doesn't really ever cover is, do you have good business ideas, right? Like they kind of obliquely measure. They never really, maybe they do. I should talk to Nathan Harvey and figure out if they do this. He's probably told me this over the years, but like they don't really tell you what success means for an organization, right? Does success mean that you're General Motors and you're not dead yet? Or does it mean that you're NVIDIA and you're like wildly successful, right? Like how is success measured as far as like all the clustering and whatever kind of stat nonsense they do?
But maybe what you're getting at there is like ring fencing this report, because like, they called that first one lead time for changes in distribution. But like here, I just want to define it a little bit more because I think it's a little confusing. It basically says like, what is your lead time for changes? That is, how long does it take to go from code committed to code successfully running in production? So I almost think that's like that is almost the place where this report should pick up. But it's like where this report can actually add value. It's like, listen, I don't know how you decided what the code is going to do. That's kind of, if you will, the requirements, the user thing. But it's not even so much like, it's almost not even trying to like say it's not my problem. It's just being like, it's just sort of like, it's like beyond the scope of the report. Like all I want to know is that when you have implemented an idea and you've committed the code, like, can I get it to production in some reasonable amount of time? Like, I think the 1 month, 1 week is very reasonable. And then how do you know if you're doing that? You can go back to look at deployment frequency. It's like, hey, like, so if I'm just the IT person, I'm just like, you give me committed code, I'll get it out for you in a week. And I know I can do that because we're deploying whatever, once a week, at least, if not maybe a couple of times a week. And it's like, that's what I can help you as the business leader. I can't, because this kind of gets back to the whole thing. It's like, should we be building this? Does the thing that you committed, does it add value to the company? It's like you're sort of saying to other people, like, I understand that's a hard problem and there's a whole set of disciplines and people working on that. And there's a lot of art and science that goes into it. But I just trust you. I trust you, business leaders, that like I have to, because I don't know. I don't know if we should be committing, CSV export. I mean, do people want it? Of course people want it. But, I'm not going to debate that. I'm just here to like, get things in there. Maybe they want, maybe they want new, the ability to deploy new AI images into their app. Okay, great. We can do that, So it's just sort of like, I like that. I like thinking that way.
I think if only you could add some perspective and nuance from that weird area between the business and how things are implemented called product management, you'd have so much to add to this discussion, Brandon, about how you merge those things. But yeah, I think, going back to what you're saying, I think, so one, I think probably my top, what would you call it? My perspective on DORA stuff is that I think, as you kind of phrased it, they play the role of like a therapist of everything you were just saying, which is that you go to a therapist. I've made fun of this over the years, or commented on it. You go to a therapist and they don't really like tell you anything you don't know. They're just there to constantly be telling you what you do know that you're not doing. And I think like boiled down, like, whenever some trend comes along, the DORA people like encrust a bunch of pages on the PDFs, which is fine. Apparently they give a lot of like Google user interface researchers some pages to fill out. Delightful to read through. But what the DORA report always does is what you're describing is just like, hey, as an IT executive, your job is to deliver software as quickly as possible that works. Right. And that, of course, it runs in production. Like works is doing a lot of work in that sentence. And so if you want to do that, here is what we know after however many years. I forget Gene Kim's intro. Is it 10, 13, who cares? Here's what we know you need to do, right? Like you can go to the website and we got this great little map that like shows you like capabilities that you do and how that goes down to business results. And so, you should do that. Our 45 minutes is up. I will submit the invoice. Right. And so if you give the DORA report, like the attention, what am I trying to say? If you read it genuinely as someone reading it and you pay attention to it, that's what it's doing. It's basically saying like, here's the answer. Now you should go do it. Right now, what the DORA report doesn't tell you is the immediate response that everyone is going to have, that we all have to like free advice like this, or maybe not free advice if you're paying for it, which is like, I know I need to do that, but why am I not doing it? Right? Like what is it I need to change that, and what is within my power to change? How do I need to like actually wrap my head around I could actually do that and go about doing it? And like that is where it doesn't really ever prescribe actions to fix this stuff. And I think that's like myself included. I'm at the front of the line. That's where it becomes very frustrating, especially if you read it year after year and you're just like, I got it. People need to do this, but like, how do they do it? And I think the reason it doesn't specify that is it is more or less like it's not different in each instance, but how you shift an organization over is so varied that you can't really write about it very much. And so that's where like I think over the years like DORA stuff kind of falls flat, is like if you've read it enough, you're like, yep, I got it. I know it's going to be. We keep making fun of this. I know it's going to be in the report, and great validation. And I think to the point of the I think I counted. I'm going to get it wrong, but it is 140 pages. But if you chop out the foreword and the even the methodology,
and the appendix and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're still talking 90, 85 pages, if I remember, which actually is the perfect length for a business book. So I think the way that you have positioned it is a business book. And so, all right, so let's say, one way of reviewing stuff is did this film, did this book, did this YouTube short, did it achieve what it set out to do, right? And that's another way of asking, who is this for? And I think the goal that I think you and I just kind of outlined, that's the next question. If you're doing a critique of something, is, so let's assume that was the goal, to help executives out. Did it achieve that? And I'm not sure. I think the blog that Nathan and the other person did, I think that achieves it, right? Like it's a nice sort of like, if you trust that we've done the research, here is how we've interpreted it, and here's what it means. And then the at the end, if you read that far, there's actually like a great summary that's kind of like, so if you want to do AI stuff, here's the things that are important. And, right. And then there actually is a very, I don't think it's uncharacteristic, because over the years, the DORA report has called out if there's some important outlier in a good way. I guess they call it negative outliers, but they'll call out if there's some important outlier. And they do spend 3 paragraphs on the 1-page summary, which is a significant amount, because they've got they do that thing where they've got 3 columns and then they have a huge fat margin on the left side instead of filling it with text, because they're like, we're not an ACM paper. What are we fucking doing here? We did this in Acrobat, not LaTeX, or Illustrator, I guess. And so they do spend a lot of time talking about so this is to the point of what the paper is. The whole point of the paper is what is the state of doing Gen AI stuff. I assume they're not talking about whatever not Gen AI is. What is the state of AI helping out with the IT process, and especially doing software, writing your own software. What they spend a lot of time on is saying the more focused you are on the end user of your efforts, the more better. Again, I'm always very confused about what that criteria of better is, what with the weird clustering and science stuff, but I'm just going to assume it means something that I would consider better. The more better that you're going to be. And that is actually, it is once stated, you're like, yes, I agree. the software that we make should be useful, right? But I think calling it out is incredibly important, right? Because it's very easy to lose track of. Let's consider the user, consider the person using this software, and let's really spend time figuring out what they need and if all of our efforts are resulting in something being valuable to them. So I think those parts are good, but then there's a lot of stuff in the middle that is just like, at least for me, is like fraught with like, I don't know what I'm reading here, right? like I know what I'm reading, and let me just, I feel terrible talking about DORA reports all the time because like I know people spend a lot of time on them and they're valuable to someone. So this is just like my perspective. Here's one you can imagine. If you don't like what I'm hearing, I'm sitting on the one side of a one-way mirror, just giving you like audience reaction. Like, here's one thing that is representative of that whole middle of the report, and the if I am the end user, the user experience that I'm having is they have all of these charts. Some charts don't even have an x-axis label to them, but then there's a lot of charts that are labeled negative 0.05. and then zeros in the middle, and then they have 0.05. And I look at that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm so fucking stupid. I apologize. That's my instant reaction to that chart, is like, I have no idea what this is.
Right, you have to take some time to go learn how to read the chart, where the positive things are saying positive correlations versus negative correlations.
Yeah, and I went to our buddy ChatGPT, and I took a screenshot, and it started telling me about standard deviations, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm so fucking stupid. I please accept my apologies. Right?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, it starts to vary into like a researcher who's like very familiar, like a statistician researcher that's very familiar of like reading this stuff versus like I'm more layman, right? So that's kind of what you're saying. It's like, hey, just and they do it some in the text, but it's like, just tell me what this means. You know what I mean? It's like, don't make me do all this extra work, right? So I agree with that, and I think, and maybe that's something where it's like, it's probably hard for them. It's like they want to show their work because otherwise people will be like, well, I don't understand where this data is. So it's like, you know, maybe that is one of those things, like you could probably put some of these in the appendix, or you can just read the text next to it. But I agree. It does sort of, it's like putting off. It doesn't make it as approachable. If
my suggestion would be, and maybe they do this, but my suggestion would be like, you should write an academic paper or series of academic papers where you do all that. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you should engage with your marketing organization and then write the 80 pages is fine. I accept that. But then you should also write the self-help book. And, you know, your Google, even, you know, you got Google money. Why don't you hire, like, I don't know, Seth Godin, Malcolm Gladwell, anyone who writes these like poppy books. And I can't think of other people who might be better, and just bring them in. Be like, we're going to pay you, I don't know what your fee is, $40,000, $50,000. We'll fly you first class from wherever you are. And just give us some notes. Right. Kind of like,
well, I think we go for one, but if we just apply that book metaphor, it's like academic paper translated into like friendly business book, and then have someone read it, do like do the audiobook version, right? Because that's all the rage with these authors. That's how they're making money, right? It's sort of like, you want to listen to it. And if by writing it in such a way that you make it an audiobook, you kind of make it, you know, you start to take the graphs out, right? You're like, this is going to be and then again, like you always have like the detailed report. Somebody that wants to go see all the statistics. I think it's fine, because I kind of come back to back to what I was saying before. It's like, if I was consuming this as like an executive, it's sort of like, I'm going to go to page 20. I'm going to see where I'm at. If I'm not doing well, I'm going to go through pages, all the 7 archetypes of the different teams. It's a little bit of horoscope kind of feel, but I'd probably be like, my team looks like whatever, the 4th one, right?
Yeah.
Then they start to give you some advice, like, well, if you're the 4th one, this is what you like. This is your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably page down and be like, okay, my weakness is like this. Then maybe I'd read some like platform engineering and be like, okay, maybe I should do some of, you know, I'm just going to pluck through it. Like, I'm just going to be like, almost like paint by numbers, but it's almost like, okay, I'm doing poorly. I'm this problem. I think the solutions you proposed here for me are in pages 3, 4, or whatever.
Absolutely.
95 through 96. And then maybe I'll try to do 1 or 2 things. I mean, that's how, just being realistic. I would try to do 1 or 2 things to make my organization better that I see in there. And that's it. And that's like the best I can possibly do.
And that's always been Not always, because the first, starting with Puppet and then even for a while, the DORA reports were like a little spare in what they were doing. But in the big fucking PDF era of DORA reports, the strength is that if you do the work, you can find exactly what you said, right? Like, and that is. I think the pay attention to user-centric stuff is the most important thing in this report if you want AI things. But those spider diagrams are fantastic, right? Like here's a way spider diagrams take a little bit of intellectual like heft, but not any more than figuring out the difference between a pita and a tortilla. Like, you can sort it out. And so like those are good things for management people to look at to say, here's what do you have? If you have 5 points in a spider diagram, like here's 5 attributes, and I can very quickly look at a page of however many of them and see where I am. And then whether it's directly said or implied, I'm kind of restating what you're saying, like you can see what your do they still call it a gap analysis, Brandon?
That's fine.
Yeah, you can do a gap analysis to see what you're lacking, and then figuring out doing it.
And that's just for people playing along home. Page 16 has all the spider diagrams, which I guess have 8 points.
Wonderful
not
page.
To correct you. And you can just kind of like be like, again, it's sort of like a thing like, I think I look like 6. I think I'm stable and methodical. I'm cluster 5 or whatever, right? And then from that, you could probably go through, because it kind of tells you a little bit about like, well, this is what your team looks like. And you're like, oh, you know what? Sounds like we need to work out more or something like that. Or like we need to eat better. I mean, it's kind of that kind of stuff, right? And you can be like, okay, well, maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah. And there's other prescriptive stuff in there that's good. So I guess I'm kind of leaning towards like, despite what I was saying, like there's a lot of good stuff in this PDF, but like the other thing that I think, the other prescriptive advice or what you should be doing if you would like to be doing a good job, is it's very common sense, especially if you're like, why don't you come down here and chum this shit if you're of that kind of mind. You can't just like, we used to say this in the microservices era, is you can't just like rub a bunch of AI stuff on things and it's going to be great. Like if you, I'm cursing a lot all of a sudden, but if you rub AI on shit, you're just going to get shit all over your AI. Right. And so like you need to make sure that like your data is in a good state because you're going to be using that. You've got to make sure that your process for getting software out is in a good state, and on and on and on. Right. Like,
but I do to your end here, like again, another report chart I did like, it's like, because again, this is just the simplest view of this report. It's like, okay, what people interact with AI? What are they using? Right. So again, like I just was sort of using this myself. Like, what are people doing? It's like, well, 55% are using conversational AI, chatbots, ChatGPT. We all do that. Another 41% are using IDEs. That's our friend like Claude Code and Cursor. I've talked about those. And then there's a pretty big drop off. There's like 31% external web interfaces. Don't even know what that means. And then internal web interfaces. But it's just sort of like, it's just like below that, it's almost like automated tool chain. Yeah, I know what it means, but like, what are you doing in AI? But again, like if I'm just benchmarking myself, I'm gonna be like, well, does my organization have access to a chatbot I want them to use, not like one they're using and not saying they're not using it? And then 2, like, do I have all the developers? Do they have access to some of the coding tools? Like, if you're doing that, like, you're doing probably pretty good. You're probably doing what most people are doing. It's like, it's like, don't make it too complicated. Like, you could do other stuff, but like, I don't know. I think you see a stark drop off. So it's like, here's the baseline. It's just very actionable to me.
I like that. That's a very European sentiment to be like, what do I need to give you so that I can go get a beer? Mm-hmm. Right. Like, and just like, what is required? Like I'm looking here at my camera, I printed this out, and I think this is encapsulation of the European worker mindset, is like, do only what's needed, and that will be what is necessary.
There you go. Well, okay. The one area I did want to get your take specifically on, because it's like the world you live in a lot, is the platform engineering. There's a lot of platform engineering stuff in there. And it seemed like they were generally of the opinion that most people have adopted platform engineering.
90%.
Right? There you go. So I just wanted to ask you, like, do you think that's actually true? Like, is that jive with your all your thought leadership in talks? Like, would you say 9 out of 10 people in these talks are like, yep, we're doing this?
No, I don't think that's accurate. I think the blog post phrased it probably what is accurate, which is it says, our data shows that 90% of organizations have adopted at least one platform. So there you go. This is. Let me find my notes on this over here. This is penetration versus market share. right?
Okay.
Penetration is a worthless number. Penetration means if I am a company of 100,000 people, is there at least one person who is using something?
Okay. So
If the
low
answer is
doesn't
yes.
not a lot of meaning in that. Okay.
Right. What you want to know is the magnitude of something that's being used. So you would want to say, if I'm a 100,000 person organization and we have 2,000 applications that we run, how many of them are being managed in a platform engineering situation, right? And so if 90% of the workloads of my, I got that great KLM credit card. If at Bank of America, 90% of the workloads are being managed in a platform sort of engineering orientation, yes, that's what this 90% claim is. But if Bank of America has any reason to spend money on anything related to platforms, then it's invalid, right?
Okay.
Like, it's just like the 90% is like, that is never accurate. Like, it is like, that means the problem is solved.
So
like,
netting that out, I think
solved.
we could say this, the way this is portrayed is way optimistic. I think just a simple
Absolutely.
walk around hallway talk would be like, we're pretty sure 90%.
I mean, analogously, like, it'd be like saying, 90% of people do DevOps, and anyone would be like,
probably
cool.
not. Probably not.
Like the proper phrasing of that would be 90% of people said they were doing DevOps is like what the nuance of it. So
okay, but now that we've established that, we know 90% aren't doing it. At least as portrayed by the statistic. Was there any other nugget in here that jumped out as you as a platform engineering thought leader, mind share expert that like you thought was interesting?
I mean, I think having the to use the proper wording, I think the correlation between doing platform engineering and stuff going well, yep, makes sense. And then there was an interesting thing which I didn't read close enough, which was I asked our friend Chatty G about this too, and I don't think I went back and read what it said, but there was, I forget the page, but it was sort of like if you're doing AI stuff, it could be good or bad that you have a platform for it. I think it was good. But then I think there was also some implication that once you have, as we used to say in the pivotal era, opinions, and you have an opinionated platform, then you're constraining people. And I think it said that was good, but then the next paragraph it said it was bad. I suppose I could go read it and look at it. But I think which to generalize and make it more useful than my shitty memory of it, I think that is very representative of the platformization of any technology that you have, is that early on, with like AI stuff, if you're doing centralized IT, which I guess is one way of saying what platform engineering is, you would like to, I'm going to use phrases you would never use, I'll say the quiet stuff out loud, as it were. You want to lock down the feature set that you have so that you have maximum control over it and you reduce variability in what you have out there. And at this stage of like AI stuff, that could go very poorly, because you're basically will just limit what people can do, and then they'll go off and subvert you and do shadow insert phrase here, right? I mean, like in the past 6 months, you see a lot of news stories. You see a lot of stuff in the internet that's basically like, there was a great piece from Phil over at Horses for Sources, fantastic analyst, boutique name, where he was basically saying like, it's kind of like the Brian Gracely's 2 weeks back smart people and AI thing, where he was like, there are individuals in your company using AI tools and you have no idea about it, and you should try to catch up to it, right? And so if you lock down some new technology, the people who are like clever, all your little like enterprise Lokis out there, will just figure out how to use it anyways. And so if you lock down the platform that you have for AI stuff too soon, you're just going to be, if you don't have, I don't know, I forget the DORA things, if they still use it. If you don't have, do they still say excellent performers? I forget what the highest level of stuff is. They changed that wording at some point. But unless you have the platform engineering that is really good, they're just not going to be able to give those new features fast enough, and so it'll seem like it's constraining. So again, that's a good thing for an executive to know about. But yeah, I mean, in general, the platform engineering stuff was just like, yeah, it's good, you should do it.
So it's kind of back to like where we started this whole thing. Like if you find yourself like you're not deploying very frequently, or you're unable to get committed code out, it's probably and you go through, you pick out which of the 7 archetypes in the spider diagram you are. You probably page down to the platform engineering and be like, okay, like probably need to look at this. Probably need to do some of this,
And you know, the thing that they don't do, and being a crotchety old like platform as a service, Cloud Foundry, Pivotal, now Tanzu platform person, right? Like what I would insert into there is like, you should have some opinions. Like you need to build up a platform and constrain the options that people have by giving them what you think is the best option and product managing it probably on like a 90-day cycle, because that seems reasonable and realistic, to bring in new features and constantly be thinking about that so that you have new stuff you're bringing in, and do that. Because otherwise you're going to have a whole bunch of accidental platforms. And we know what that is like, because that is the world and the enterprise we live in now, with like legacy and tech debt and all this stuff.
I like it. So I like the idea of bringing opinions but I think the opinions, and I want you to get to your take on this. So it's like, I don't know. I know this has an introduction. If you were to write something before an introduction in a written work, like before a foreword, maybe it's like a letter. I don't know what it would be. Like, it's like, because I would think to myself, like if someone said to you, write the, like, I don't know, note from before you read this, I want you to read this one page. And it would be something like this. And I'm sure people have heard me say this before. I'd be something along the lines of like, all that ultimately is going to determine your success are markets and products. Is the market that you are serving growing? Question 1. Question 2, is the product that you're selling into that market, is it doing something that is very valuable to those customers and they're going to want to pay you in some way for it? Okay. Right. Like before you proceed into reading anything else, go have an opinion on 1 and 2, right? And then when you go into building such said product, right, and you start to do it, you should probably bring an opinion about how largely it should be built. Like you don't have to have it all figured out, but you do need to, like your thing, you need to be like, we're going to build a website or a web service. We're going to, have some idea of the technology stack and some way that we're going to do this. Like, just pick your super successful company like Google, right? They have the Borg and all the tools and all that stuff. Like there's a real opinion on how to do stuff that is maybe good or maybe bad, but works for them. And so that would be like my entire, I don't know, maybe it'd be my 400 words, up into this, right? And just
I think that's good.
Don't proceed. Don't proceed until you've kind of really internalized this stuff, because all this other stuff, all the spider diagrams and the platform engineering, all of that, like it'll probably be interesting to talk about, but you will likely, honestly, I hate to say this, it's somewhat bleak. It's like, it probably won't have a big impact on your success if you really don't have, at least you don't have strong belief that the market you're entering is growing and the product you have is right. If you don't have that strong belief, don't read anymore. Go do something else. Go seek to answer those questions before you do this.
I like this format, because usually, as to go back into the on the mirror side of the one-way mirror, like as a reader, I do not like forewords, introductions, and prefaces. I generally skip over them, right? Just like because I know what they're like. Now, I had a book, and I had a foreword, and I asked our friend John Willis to write it, and because he's famous, and also because I knew it would be something I would want to read, and it was a nice, sweet foreword that he had. Now, for people out there, a foreword is spelled FOREWARD, not FORWARD. Very important to know if you're going to be hoity-toity enough to have a foreword in anything that you've written.
I'd probably make that mistake, but go on, yes.
But I think what that kind of introduction would be. Oh man, and the forwards and introductions that are all about, well, let me tell you how I met Cornelius Whippersmith one day. And you're just like, I got 15 pages of this shit to go through. But I think what you're laying out, going back to the Parthenon, is like there was supposedly, I forget the exact wording, but over the Agora, which is where that asshole Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and the other ones hung out, was I assume it was written in ancient Greek, but it said, to enter here, you must first know math, right? And it was kind of like, we're going to be talking about, epistemology and ontology and all the ologies, but like there's some basic things.
Yeah, it's like your prerequisites, like,
right. And so it's almost the equivalent of that. And I think it's also the opposite in like this forward. I don't know, like the difference between a forward, a preface, and an introduction. People can look up if they want some good bedtime reading, but I think it's almost interesting to put at the front of the book what you should do next after you read this book, right? And a lot of what you're saying, like if I were to put it in my own words, is like, hey, this is a great report. People put a lot of time into it. I don't know what the fuck negative 0.05 means, but God bless them, right? But you know what you should read after this is go read some job to be done theory. And after that, go read some product management theory. And after that, like, go read this stuff, because what you've got here in your hands is a tool, right? This is a description of how to build a factory to build a product. And once you're done with this, go figure out what product you should build and the methodology you should follow with that, and enjoy the next 2,000 pages.
No, it's exactly right. And I think that's maybe we'll briefly touch on it, because I think it's sort of related and not related. It's like, sort of like, think of like OpenAI, right? They have, I assume, very smart people that are very up on all of the new development methodology. They've all worked at the best places, right? They probably have a great platform engineering type of thing. But like, really what comes down to their success, and I think this is like a fun way for us to judge it, it's like they are actively being like, okay, we're got to launch products that we think are are in growing markets that people want. So the ones they did this,
it's going to cover Oracle's debt, basically.
Yeah, and exactly. They're like, we got to find a way to make the 300. So the ones they're trying this week, and I thought it was just interesting because it felt like they just came out with a bunch of them, was one, they're calling it agentic commerce, which is simply like they want to own the checkout experience. So if you click on a link in OpenAI and you decide to buy the widget, that you would use their checkout experience and they would get a little fee, right? That would be one way to pay that Oracle bill. The other one is a little bit like Facebook's new, what they call it, Vibes app. They have the new Sora app. I guess it's invite only, but it's essentially, if you will, short videos generated by AI. So it's a little like TikTok, but with AI. So they're clearly being like, well, people want that. And you can easily see that there'd be advertising inside of it if it did well. And then finally, they talked about this ChatGPT Pulse, which is sort of like, I guess it's not a newsletter, but it's really just a daily review. It's like, hey, we read everything that you've been talking to us about. And based on all of the stuff that you've talked to us about, here are like 5-7 things that we think you're interested in. Right. And maybe like, and so I just think it's interesting because for them, the success of their company depends on, are these products in growing markets, and do people actually want these things? And like, that's going to determine their success. And behind it is probably a team that knows all this DORA stuff, or at least we would think are like highly educated in it, but but their success is not preordained for them as well. Maybe agentic commerce is pointless because like we don't want another checkout. Like you and I probably like, I don't know, can we just have an Amazon link? We're already hooked up there, right? So they got that's a big barrier. Like the DORA report's not going to fix that. And same thing with the videos. It's like, I don't know, the TikTok videos are like pretty good, and I kind of like there's a human being from it. I don't really want to watch this, so these decisions are all separate from, and the final one is like, you could be negative, be like, I don't really want another thing telling me. I have like 7,000 newsletters telling me things I should do. I don't want another one. So you could say to yourself, it's like the DORA report will not answer any of those questions. It will help them build those things, but ultimately they're beholden to the same issues before. And we should go back to, no matter how smart they are, remember when they launched ChatGPT, they were like, it would be great if we got 100,000 people to use this. So don't pretend they didn't know either, right? So the fact that they're now launching these products and think, well, it's like, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But again, just separate what the DORA report can help you with and what you have to decide.
Yeah. I think maybe the summary of this opus of a PDF is like, it's good for your collection. You gotta have some other stuff on the shelf. It's going to tell you how to run the factory. Fantastic stuff. And also as a topical side note, I don't know if that makes it not a side note, but I hadn't really thought about the fact that they launched like 3 different things, 3 different products, which is great. They're doing it. They're going after it, which is fun. And also as another compliment, I hadn't thought about what they're doing there as a newsletter. That's perfect. That's exactly what.
Well, to be clear, that it's not technically a newsletter. It's like you have to go to the site. I think it should be a newsletter.
It's a highly personalized daily newsletter that gets sent to you, telling you as if like if you think of a newsletter, like the kind of newsletter I have is like, here's everything I've looked at and what I think about it. I mean, that's a little over the top. Here's since last time I sent out this newsletter, here's stuff I thought was interesting that I looked at, and maybe even some commentary on it. And basically, it's like, well, what if we could make that newsletter for everyone individually, right? And which sounds cool. Like I started using the task thing, which I remember reading about a year ago and thinking like, this is, at least for me, I don't know if other people have this, but this is kind of a barrier for my enjoyment of AI stuff is they come out with these features and I'm like, nah, that's a bunch of bullshit. It's going to be terrible. Right. And so like, that's what I thought about this task thing forever. And then on a whim, I was just like, I don't know, let me set up a task and see what happens. And it's great. It sends you like a report basically in a chat window every day, which is very, very fun to have. Well, speaking of things that are very fun to have, Brandon, is there any bureaucracy this episode?
The only bureaucracy is for the listener. We would like to give out some more stickers. I feel like we've slowed down. I haven't been promoting them as well. So I've got plenty of stickers. If you would like one, just send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I will be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
Well, there's several conferences coming up. I was at, I was at the SRE Day London Q2 or Q3. They've had two here, so they put Q in the title, which is fantastic. And again, it's a great conference. I think if you're in the business of sponsoring conferences, it's definitely one of the few conferences of its type that has a lot of regional practitioners, which is a good thing because reaching regional practitioners for marketers is hard, very difficult.
Yep.
So if you look at where they are, and you can also hire the SRE Day people to come wherever you want, which could be good or bad. But in the major cities they go to, you'll get actual DevOps, SRE operations people who come there because it's good content and they show up there. So you should sponsor them. Unfortunately, I get no money from that. They very quickly put up a recording of a talk I gave there, which is the first time I've given a talk on what platform engineers can do to support AI as a service that they're doing. And we'll put it in the show notes somewhere. You should go watch that. It's fun. Only 48 other people have watched it, so you've got the jump on some new knowledge that you can take advantage of.
Be one of the first 100. You can do it.
Yeah. Anyways, there's some more conferences coming up. There's Cloud Foundry Day in Frankfurt next week, October 7th. I'm giving a talk there. I'm going over 3 stories or case studies of people who use Cloud Foundry because there's not enough stories about that out there. And also, I looked at the agenda for that today, and I don't know how it's a single track conference because I feel like there's 300 talks that are being given. So it's very dense, a lot of talks that are going to be given there. And then there is, I think 2 weeks later, is AI for the Rest of Us in London, which is going to be October 15th and 16th, put on by Hannah Foxwell, which you can hear an interview of her on Software Defined Interviews if you go to softwaredefinedinterviews.com. We've got a new episode with my friend here in Amsterdam, Saad, talking about he works at Databricks now. We talk a tiny bit about this. And he also talks about when he had a cow monitoring startup for a long time. Turns out something that's very valuable to dairy farmers is knowing when the cows are in heat. And so you can use computers and machine learning to figure that out. You should go listen to that. So you should also, if you want to get a discount to go to AI for the Rest of Us, which I think is going to be a fun conference, you can use the code SDT20 to get, that's right, SDT off. No, I'm sorry, to get 20% off the price of it. And then there are the Wisdom, which maybe they should have just called Wisdom conferences. Do you remember those Twizzler ads when we were younger that would just be like this mouth and it would go, Twizzler?
I do remember that.
Yeah, they should just be like Wisdom. Anyways, that's going to be in New York City, not upstate. Is there a downstate New York? Or is
I think that's the city. That's New York City. Upstate is not New York City.
So really, upstate.
I know. That's the funny thing. I know a lot of New Yorkers disagree with it. Basically, everybody who lives in New York City considers anything outside of New York City upstate, which of course, New Yorkers that live in Buffalo would take issue with. But that's a whole nother regional podcast we're not going to do today.
I see. So upstate just means the whole fucking rest of the state.
Well, for New Yorkers, it means that. For other people, that
exactly.
They don't like that.
When a New York Cityer says that. Anyways, that's going to be in downstate New York, November 3rd to 5th, and then London, November 17th to 19th. And then finally, I'll be speaking at SRE Day, Amsterdam, Q4 or 3, which is going to be November 7th. So there's some fun stuff going on there. Now with that, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this episode?
Well, I've been watching a new Netflix show that came out. It has Jason Bateman in, who I think is perfected at playing like kind of like the I don't know, the family member that's kind of gone rogue, but is kind of smart and says lots of sarcastic stuff. And you know what? I like it. I like these shows that he does. Like Ozark was one. He's done several others. This one's Black Rabbit. So it's on Netflix. It's got Jude Law in it. It's good. It's a drama. It's kind of dark. You know, it's sort of like family drama, a little bit of violence. Jason Bateman doing his thing. So I've enjoyed it though. So if you're looking for that kind of escape, check it out. Black Rabbit, Netflix.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I was reflecting. I didn't really like watching that Black Lotus show. It's too stressful. But you know, I was thinking we used to watch Kim and I a lot of.
Are you
TV.
referring to the White Lotus?
White Lotus. There you go. Yeah,
definitely. That's not a Black Lotus. Although that would be a fun spinoff.
It would be. They go to like Madagascar or something. I don't know. But like, it's a very stressful show. But we used to watch a lot of TV, and I think I just got too snooty or something. I don't know what it is, but good recommendation. Well, my recommendation, I think I mentioned this earlier. Well, I know I mentioned it earlier. I think you pronounce it soon because there's no accent on the E, which I would know. You would, if there was an accent on the E, you would say Sune. But so it's soon, and it's in, as I was told, it's in London. It's at the restaurant I ate with James. Fantastic place. They know him very well there.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't even have to make reservations. I went in there. They're like, "Oh, can we help you?" And I was like, I'm meeting someone." And they're like, "Oh, really? Who are you meeting? Do they have a reservation?" It's like, "I'm meeting James." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, he's on the way." So, it's James,
come in,
Governor
sir. Let me sit you down.
Now, it is as the cab driver gently informed me. Chastise is the wrong word because we had a great rapport. It's in Hackney, and you should tell the cab driver when you want to go to Hackney. It's very important because they have a lot of roads closed down when you go there. And so, for example, he could only drive me up to like right before the restaurant, then all the roads were closed off to buses. And if you ever have an experience like that, you know, here's something, a travel tip I recommend is whenever you have kind of like a salty cabbie, you should ask them what they think about the part of town that you're in. Because boy, this guy had some fun opinions on Hackney. It was good stuff.
Okay.
It was kind of like if you pluck someone from like, you know, I don't know, in the middle of fucking nowhere, West Texas, and you set them down in Austin, and you're like, what do you think of this place?
Oh, okay.
It was pretty much that.
A lot of opinions.
Yeah, I took them to Casa del Luz and asked them what their input on it was. But yeah,
that's a deep cut. I like it.
It was a great restaurant. Like it was really nice. They had fantastic food. It was not completely vegan. They had the Dirty Greek Man wine, which I liked, and they had oysters there, always a treat. It was fantastic. It was a good place, and like, you know, it's not like you're buying a euro and it's super cheap, but it's also not super expensive. And this time of year, I think it's a perfect time to go there and enjoy it. So soon in London, in Hackney, if you're taking a cab. Although I think maybe what I learned is you don't tell them, otherwise they won't take you.
Okay.
But yeah. So speaking of things that you should tell people, you've been listening to another episode of Software Defined Talk. This is episode 540. So if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/540, you can find things we talked about and a whole bunch of things we didn't talk about there. Also, how to subscribe if you have for some reason listened to this or watched it in YouTube, where we also post the videos. You should subscribe to it to get it weekly. And we've got a great Slack channel you can join where we talk about stuff with our overall community throughout the week. Lots of things we talk about surface there, and we discuss things. It's a good little environment. And I've already mentioned it, but if you don't already listen to Software Defined Interviews, you should go check that out. There's a bunch of good episodes there. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
All right, Cote. Well done as always. I guess I would say the audio quality camera between the Roadcasters, I feel like the audio quality was solid this week. We'll see. Maybe for those that are watching on the video later, what's up with the camera?
I stopped using this camera at some point, and I think I'm discovering why. But I used this camera for many years, a Sony V1. It's like the Sony Vlogger one. and it was great. But now, for some reason, like overheats and just shuts itself down.
So is this like it's like a regular camera that has a USB or HDMI out that you're routing in? So that way you have like the good lens and all, but you don't have, it's not like a USB camera.
It's a DSL, no good.
DLSR, that whole thing. So, okay.
Yeah, which,
well, you look good in between when the camera, before it turns off, you do look good. What did you say before? You're in, what kind of view is this? Because now I made you a little bit bigger on my screen. So I do see you're in the natural. This is natural light.
Oh yeah, I said it's very naturally lit.
Yes, there you go. You look very natural.
As several years ago, one day when I showed up and I had a bit of a sunburn, you're like, oh, you got a little health. Well, I'd love to see it.
There you go. So, all right. Well, we appreciate everyone watching the video, even when Cote went to black. But it was. Think of it like a commercial break. That was a chance for you to pause and not see him for a few moments. Think about something you wanted to buy, and then he returned. So I was like,
relax your eye holes.
Just a little commercial break. So we recorded a little earlier this week. We will most likely be next week. We will be recording around our usual time. So until then, we hope you do well. We appreciate you watching the video. And we will talk to you next time.
Toodaloo.